Hey everybody, MidnightRangeTM here. Thanks for visiting the channel. Glad to see you back. Tonight is pretty cool because we're actually doing sort of a special episode, I guess. I do have a Patreon account now. I've got a few subscribers, Travis P11, Ghost Tactical, and Smeggy42. I'd like to thank those guys for being a part of it and helping me out. Smeggy is in fact my very first sous chef level Patreon supporter. So he has the ability to pick an ingredient and I will build a dish with it. So tonight's episode is bison. Okay, he wanted to do some venison or game or something, so bison's pretty readily available. So I decided to go with that, and what we're going to do is a bacon-wrapped bison meatloaf with roasted ketchup and fresh thyme. Okay, so this is going to be pretty cool. This is actually similar a technique that I've done in the restaurant, which is really neat. We're going to take some red onion, some celery, some carrot, saute it. Mix it with some garlic, heavy cream, egg, salt, pepper, a little breadcrumb, some chili flake, and some fresh thyme. Mix it in, let it rest for a little bit, and wrap the whole thing in a couple strips of bacon. We're going to serve it with the roasted ketchup. Okay, so I've done this before, but a little refresher. Red onion. Okay, you're cutting against to make a nice dice. Always cut towards the center. Okay. And that way, make sure your knife is nice and sharp for this too. A dull knife will get you sent to the ER. So you've got those radial cuts, I guess you can call it. You're going to go straight down, nice and fine, and you're left with just a perfect little dice. Okay? Celery. It's celery. No big deal. If you're going to cut into small dice, you have to go lengthwise. And it's nice to do something small. So that's about, I don't know, 2 tablespoons of each so far. Carrot. Okay? Now, how do you cut something round into a dice? You're going to flatten one side off. Get it as a nice base as you can. Trim one side. Use that flat side down. And now you're going to cut almost like really thin planks out of it. And again, we're not using a whole lot here because we're only doing a pound of the bison. So you can stack those up. You can do them individually if you're not comfortable stacking them up. Okay. And give them a turn. Knuckles in, knuckles in, knuckles in. Okay. Use good form. Practice. Practice makes perfect. Okay. You can also do this on the mandolin and then julienne it and then chop it. You could also just throw it right in the food processor, pulse it a couple times, and that's going to be good enough. I'm a little bit, more hands-on with it. I like to cut them by hand. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this is the carrot, celery, and onion, also called a mirepoix in culinary terms. We're going to saute that just a little touch of olive oil with the garlic, the fresh garlic. We're going to let that cool. And then when we come back, we're going to mix this meatloaf together and get it wrapped up, get it seared, and get it in the oven. Thanks, guys. Okay, so we sauteed the veggies off. Really, really simple. Literally like 30 seconds in a nice hot pan, a little bit of oil. That was about a teaspoon and a half of garlic. And to that, what we're going to do is add about a tablespoon of cream. Okay, Cream is nice because it's going to lighten up the meat and add a little bit of fat, add a little bit of moisture. 1 egg. About a teaspoon and a half of salt and pepper. Okay? Kosher salt. Kosher salt. Don't use table salt. Get rid of that stuff. Okay? Pinch of red chili flakes. Okay? And some fresh thyme. I love thyme. Thyme is one of my favorite herbs. I'm not going to chop it. I'm just going to tear it right off because I'm not scared of thyme. So I'm not worried about having some large pieces in there. It's going to cook, and it's going to give a great herby, grassy, green flavor, like super fresh. Probably a half teaspoon worth for this. And the ground bison. Okay? We've got a super nice bison here. It's actually got a decent fat content, but it's nice and rich and dark colored. This stuff's great. This is the product I bought was not organic, but it was like organic practices, hormone-free, and really nice. This is, like I said, this is a pound. So this recipe would make definitely enough for like one nice size meatloaf that you could split with somebody, or make 2 small ones. That's cool too. I do individual ones all the time. So eggshell. So what we're going to do is mix it together a little bit, and why you want to do this ahead of time is it dissolves the salt. And I know that sounds like simple and goofy, but it'll dissolve the salt. It actually mixes it throughout, and you don't have to work it too much to get it all mixed together. If you put the meat in first and then dump all the stuff on top of it, like a lot of people do, they got to work it like crazy. It heats up the meat, it heats up the fat, and it's going to make it tough. So I like to do this ahead of time. Okay, we're going to add the beef, the bison. I might have said beef a couple times. Okay, and we're just going to work it, kind of break it up. We're not like digging in and crunching it and like smashing it. We're just kind of mixing it in as gently as we can with our fingers. The fingers work best for this kind of thing. Now, this is 2 tablespoons of breadcrumb. Just toasted, unseasoned, nothing fancy. You can make them yourself, or you can buy them at Giant or a grocery store or something like that. And we're just going to fold that in. Okay. Now this is going to seem kind of soft, and that's kind of how bison is. It is a little more tender than like a beef would be a little more firm usually, because it's it's like a larger grind. Bison tends to be, I've seen it anyway, ground a little bit finer, so it tends to be a little mushy, almost. So what we're going to do is we're going to let this rest, I don't know, at least half an hour. Okay, we're going to come back and we're going to form it, and wrap it in a couple strips of bacon. We will be back. All right, we're back. So I apologize beforehand if you hear anything. There's some background noise there. Doing some cleaning and stuff out in front of the house, in front of the dining room. So we're going to wrap this bad boy up, okay? Give him a little pig blanket. So a couple strips of bacon. Okay, it's just a simple smoked bacon, nothing out of the ordinary. You can go all out and get some really awesome stuff, but this is just a really simple bacon. And one thing that's kind of nice is, honestly, you can use some stuff that's not super expensive. If you see something that's a little fatty, because that's what we're looking for here. This is gonna give us a great flavor and great moisture. It's gonna kind of baste the meatloaf, as it cooks. You want to line them all up. Okay, and like I said, this bison is going to be a little soft. This is going to be a little tender, but that's okay. If you use beef or something like that, turkey would be the same way. Turkey and chicken, because they're very, very lean, and the grind is very small. Almost is kind of mushy too. Not in a bad way, but so now that it's cool, it's set up a little bit. The breadcrumbs absorbed a little bit in there. You basically just got yourself one big old meatball. Okay, we're going to lay it right there, tuck in the sides, and it's with a big one like this, it's actually nice to kind of get underneath it with a knife and roll it. You can use something else too, you don't have to use a knife. But what you don't want to do is squeeze too much because you don't want it to come out the sides. And you don't want to pull the bacon real tight because when it cooks it's going to shrink. So you want it just to barely be around it. And when you get to the end where the seam is, seam is right here, we're going to take that and we're actually going to sear that in a pan. Okay? And then finish it in the oven seam side down. You want to sear the seam first, which kind of sets it or seals it, and then we're going to finish it in the oven with that side down. Okay, and then we're going to pop it in the oven. A smaller one like this, you could actually do a little bit higher, and it really gets the bacon nice and crunchy. So I'm going to do it in about a 400-degree oven. Okay, you could do it a little bit lower too. And that's fine, but to get a really, really nice crunchy dark bacon on the outside, which is nice, you want to do it a little bit higher. Okay, so I think we're going to go guerrilla style here when we come back. Go handheld, and we're going to sear this bad boy off. Okay guys, we're over here at the stove. Sort of a medium heat, I would say. It doesn't need to be too crazy hot. And just a little bit of olive oil in the pan. You can use canola, you can use whatever. It doesn't really matter. You're not setting it so high that the smoke point's going to really do any damage to the oil. It's not going to burn it and make it taste bitter or anything like that. So what I've done too is you can see I've put the seam side up. Seam side up and over to the edge of this pan. And why I did that is mainly because I'm doing this with one hand and it's going to be easier. But what you want to do is get a little bit of the oil. If you have too much, just dump it out. That's why I have another pan there. And we're going to take this and we're actually going to roll it away from ourselves. Okay? Now rolling it away from yourself is going to keep it from, keep it from splashing. You do not want to splash this on yourself. So, nice hot pan. Look at that, not sticking. Move it around, move it around, move it around. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to sear this bad boy on all sides, just lightly, nothing crazy. We're going to put it back on the pan. I'm using a little steel plate, but you use whatever you want at home. You could even put it in another pan and finish it in the oven, but the cookie sheet works great too. We're going to put it in the oven, 400 degrees like we said, and probably 10-15 minutes. And then we're going to bring it out and rest it, give it a slice, and see how it looks. So while that's in the oven, seam side down, like I mentioned, I'm going to show you what we're going to use as a sauce. Okay, so when I grew up, we used to use ketchup on top, right? So you make the meatloaf, you put it in a pan, whatever, casserole dish or something. You put ketchup on the top, and you fire it in the oven, which I really like. Flavor-wise, I love it. That's my favorite way to do it still. But it does kind of take away from the browning of the meatloaf. So what I started doing, what I kind of came up with was a roasted ketchup. And basically, I take ketchup, put it on a tray, and I just fire it straight in the oven. 400 degrees, 10 minutes or so, kind of stir it around as it's going a little bit, okay? And what you get is it kind of caramelizes around the edges, which is awesome. It's so good. And you're left with this thick, almost, it's probably twice the thickness of what the ketchup started out at. But you get this sweet roasted flavor. It's really, really neat. So, that's how you can get that roasted ketchup flavor without putting it on top of the meatloaf. And we're just going to use it almost like a sauce. Okay? Alright, we're out of the oven. I'll tell you what, I'm excited about this one. This is smelling amazing. So if you're watching this video and you're not excited about this, you need to just unsubscribe, take the notifications off, pretend you never heard of me, pretend you never talked to me, and go back to watching Dukes of Hazzard, eating saltines and drinking room temperature tap water on your couch, because this stuff is slamming. Okay? So we got it out of the oven. Now, temperature wise, I did not cook this the whole way through. That's how I want to cook it. I will not tell you that you have to cook at a certain temperature. That's up to you for you to decide. If you like something undercooked, quote unquote, let's do them both, quote unquote, do it however you want. I'm shooting for a medium, okay? So I took it out of the oven. It was in the oven for like 15 or so minutes. You can go by a thermometer. You can go by the how many degrees it is, 130, 140, something like that, whatever you want. Or I'm sure if you look it up online, they're going to tell you, because it's a ground product, that you should cook it to 160. Steaks, if it was a steak, probably 145-ish or something like that. I'm going to do what I want because this is my damn kitchen. So here's what we're going to do. It is going to be a little easier to slice with a serrated knife. Okay? So we're going to just cut right. And we're going to cut it a little bit of an angle, because then it's going to lay on the plate better. Okay, straight across. We're going to do like, I don't know, what is that, about an inch? Something like that. And go the whole way down. I would say, honestly, this is great for, I would say 3 people for sure. If they're hungry, you could get away with 4, no problem. Okay. Here is your roasted ketchup. Nice and thick. We're going to grab that. We're going to go on your plate. Give it one of those. And we're going to lay this bad boy out. And that is what I'm looking for. Just that little bit of, can you see that? Just that little bit of underdone. Okay. And then you always forget one piece, okay? One piece always falls apart or something. That way, you can eat it before you get to the family with it. They don't know any better. So we're going to put that there. We're going to grab some of this stuff. Okay. We're going to get that. We're going to get one of those things right there. And there you go. Smeggy's bacon wrapped bison meatloaf with oven roasted ketchup. This is a good one, guys. You got to try it. Okay? Thanks. MidnightRangeTM. Thanks for watching the channel. I hope you subscribe. Turn on those notifications, because I do some live chats. I don't have a set schedule yet, so turn on your notifications. That way you see when I'm on. Check me out on VidMe. Check me out on YouTube. And check me out on Patreon. We've got a couple different levels, and I appreciate the help immensely. It is a great feeling to know that there's people out there that like my stuff enough to know, or that like my stuff enough, I'm sorry, to help me out. Okay? Thanks. Have a great night.